Hi folks, welcome to the first video of this set. In this video what I'd like to do is just talk about the starting textures that are involved in this process and give you an idea of what you might like to create should you wish to use your own. So in the textures folders I've got the following images inside that I can see inside the content browser, and I'm just going to really look at these. Okay, so let's expose a couple of them. This image is a bunch of cloud stamps or brushes that you can create in any 2D package, and some of them have got a sort of a swirl or vortex that have been painted in them just for a sort of effect. Next to it I've got one that's called Clouds Mask, and an image like this can be created just with any kind of clouds filter, again inside a 2D package. Something like Photoshop could be done to use that, or PaintShop Pro, anything that you've got access to with some filters is pretty good. The point really for something like this is to be combined with an image like this one to help animate it a little bit. In this set the blending is mostly to do with grayscale masks. However, you could look to expand by using technologies such as flow maps if you wanted to complicate things later on. Moving alongside here, I've got another mask here. This one is working again with kind of inverse sort of clouds, but it's not quite so eaten away as the others. And the idea here is that the white areas we can use to create land masses potentially, and sort of alongside that we've got this one here. Now it's much similar as this one, however the whites in this one are very sort of fine and located to a certain area. So the idea is that this will mask out if we wanted to colorize mountain tops. So the this sort of mask, the darker areas, we're not necessarily going to be using, but these little sort of top parts we would be. So that's kind of what that texture is aimed for. This one's kind of a bit more obvious, I think. It's a poles mask, so the idea is this texture would be wrapped around the entire world, and around the equator of a planet or something like that would be black, because we don't necessarily want a mask like this to affect that. And then near the top where it's white, that would be where we draw out ice or something like that later on. And this one is called Standard Mask. Not necessarily the best descriptive term there, I guess. But again, really what I've got here is perhaps three, if you like, alterations of the sort of land mask. And this one, potentially, what we could use this one for is more some vegetation that we could use as well. So those are basic sort of grayscale textures that we'll use in the next video for blending. Now these, if you wanted to, you could use these as an RGB mask. So you could have instead of, I've got here 6 grayscale images, you could have 2 if you were to include them in the channels, but for the sake of ease for this video I've left them exposed so that you can see them easily. Now the remaining textures for the grass and ground, these are very simple sort of generated images, again just for a bit of noise more than anything. You don't necessarily have to use these at all. I think if you wanted to be more picky, or if you wanted to have more variety, then it would be also useful to have, as well as this kind of like sandstony sort of texture, to have a variety of other things. We've got a normal map to go with that if we want to add a little bit of depth to the planet, and then the grass is just a very spongy green noise more than anything else. So that's the sort of textures that we'll be using to make these worlds. If you really want to truly customize their appearances, I'd also recommend looking at Procedural Generation for some of the masks. So you could look at something like Substance Designer to help generate your own sort of land masks, or what you could do is import a palette, if you like, so a bunch of these sort of land masks, so that you could move them around and edit them. That's not to say that you can't get a variety of different worlds out of this one texture. You can, just by moving and controlling this image, which we'll do over the next course of the videos. Okay, so in the next video we'll look at setting up our material. Thanks.